Hi folks, welcome to Appalachian Craftsman. This video is the first of a project series I'll be creating using Carveco Maker, the software that was included with my new Onefinity Foreman Pro CNC machine. Even if you don't have the same model CNC as I do, I think you'll find this information helpful, especially if you use Carveco Maker. Today's project is these cool little bottle openers. They're a great beginner project for new CNC enthusiasts because they are useful, they are great gifts, and they make great sales items too. You can make them in a variety of shapes, styles, and out of a variety of hardwoods. And they only require one bit, so no bit changes are necessary. These openers are also a fantastic way to use up some of the smaller pieces of hardwoods you may have left over from other projects. Now, these bottle openers do require a very inexpensive metal insert that you can easily find on Amazon. And as an added bonus, I'll have the files from today's project available for download on the Appalachian Craftsman website for just a few bucks. The links for both the inserts and the files can be found in the description below this video. So with that, let's get started. Okay guys, so let's get started here. I have a scrap piece of beech wood left from a project from a long time ago, and I'm going to give this a quick measure. And when I'm working with smaller projects like this and projects I originate, I typically tend to work in metric, in millimeters. It's just way easier than messing with decimal points and odd fractions and that kind of thing. If you're not used to that, I know it can be a little bit of a challenge, but something I recommend is this Fastcap rule here. It has both metric and imperial on it, and I've found it a great help for transitioning. So I'm going to give this a quick measure, and lengthwise, I am at, let's see, 550. I'm going to call this 550 millimeters, and widthwise, I'm going to call that 150. So 150 by 550. So now we know the piece of wood that we're going to use, what the size is. In Carveco Maker here, we're just going to start out with new model, and I'm going to enter in there 550 millimeters by 150 millimeters. If you want to work with inches, you can certainly feel free to do that. Just hit this little button down here, and you can work alternatively in inches. Resolution is fine. This is nothing that greatly detailed, so wherever it is at default is fine. For the origin, we're going to use our lower left-hand corner so that when we probe XYZ, this will be all automated on our machine. So with that set, I'm going to hit OK. And Carveco Maker is going to set up our workspace so that it is basically the same size as our piece of wood that I'm using here. Okay, so from here, what we want to do is bring in our vector files. So I'm going to go right up to the top here and click on Vector, Import, and right on my desktop here, I've got an SVG file called Opener. And I'm going to open that. Now, SVG files do not necessarily come in to size, okay? But they are scalable. So what we want to do, because in this case, we do have a metal insert that we're going to be putting into them. And so the circle that's in this file definitely needs to be the correct size so that these fit. So I'm going to show you a little trick here how to make sure that these are indeed the correct size and will fit the insert. So if I measure my insert here, I am at 39.63, okay?
So that's about 40 millimeters. So what I'm going to do, I'd like to have just a little bit of room. So I'm going to want the space for this to be 41 millimeters. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab my circle tool and I'm going to start to draw a circle. Just start to draw a small circle out. And now over here on the right of Carveco Maker, we will see automatically will come up the tool regarding the circle. So what we want to do is we want to set our diameter to be 41 millimeters. And we'll click Create. So what that does is that gives us a circle on our workspace that we know is 41 millimeters, which is the exact size that I want this insert to be, the exact diameter. Now, I'm going to click and drag on our vector files that we brought in, and I'm going to start sliding those over. And in this particular case, it looks like we are really close. But that doesn't always happen with SVG files, so you will want to check this. But it looks like we're really close here. You can see the purple lines here, this circle right here, over top of that black line. And boy, it is very, very close. But that doesn't mean it's exact. So I'm going to click off of that. And we're so close, I don't think we need to worry about resizing the whole drawing. But you certainly can. Just hit Shift, and then you can click and drag a corner. Matter of fact, let me show you here. If I select all of these, okay, I'm going to come over here. Third one down is our transform. And when you click on your transform button, you'll see the box show up. And if I hold Shift, I can resize these and move them around. Okay, so I'm going to undo that. And if we do not hold Shift, which is actually what I want to do, I get confused, so I'm so sorry, because I work on Mac and on in Illustrator a lot, and so certain things you have to hold down Shift for, certain things you don't, so I apologize. But in this case, we do not want to hold down Shift. We just want to click our transform, and we can grab a corner, and we can scale this up or down and move it around. So, having said all that, these are close enough, these circles are close enough that if I need to make a minor adjustment, it's certainly not going to affect the drawing. So I'm going to select this circle, and if I right click, I can choose Edit Circle. Now when I do that, that brings up our circle tool again over here on the right side. And we can see in my particular case right now, it's at 40.288. Well, I certainly want that to be that 41. So I'm just going to change that, override that 41, and create. And I'm going to do the same for these other ones. Click the next one, right click, edit circle, make that 41 millimeters. Lastly, this one, this round one, the round design here, click that circle, right click, edit circle, and make that 41 millimeters. All right, so there we go. Now I can get rid of this circle, and that takes us to just having these three vectors ready to go. So what we can do now is I can position these so that everything fits on our scrap piece of wood, and we can batch these out, and we can get as many out of this piece of wood as we can. So if you ever need to recenter your workspace, you can just come over here to the right side, and the second button down will allow you to recenter that. And then I'm going to zoom in just again here a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this first circular one, and I'm just going to move it out of my way. And then I'm going to grab the second one, just click and drag. And then I'm going to move it out of my way. And then finally, I'm going to take this one, this first one here, and I'm going to once again click the transform button so that I can rotate this. Now we know it's the right size. All three of these are the right size, so we don't have to mess with the size any. But what we want to do is we want to come over here to the right size, and if we come down here, there is an area called rotate, and you can choose counterclockwise, or Carveco Maker calls it anti-clockwise. But in this case, we're just going to choose clockwise and 90 degrees. And that will turn that right on its side. And then I can position that where I want it. Now, in this case, I'm going to keep that highlighted. And I am going to copy that, which you can use Control C if you like. And then I'm going to come back up to Edit and paste that, which would be Control V if you like. And I'm going to move that down here. Okay, so I've got those two ready to go. So now we're going to do the same thing to this second one. I'm going to click and drag, highlight that one, and then come again to my transform tool, third button down on the left here. And we are going to turn that counterclockwise, or I'm sorry, clockwise, in my case, 90 degrees. Apply. I'll move that over. Control C, Command C if you're on a Mac. Copies. Command V or Control V. Pastes, and there's our second one. So now we've got 4 out of here. And then let's go ahead and do a couple of these round ones as well. Again, we're going to copy that and paste it. There we go. So let's move that over. Click and drag, grab this one, and we will move it over. And I'll tell you what, I think we got room for one more here. And you want to make sure that you're giving yourself enough room between these, because remember, we're going to be using a 1/4 inch end mill to cut these out. So we're going to want to have a little room. There's no sense bunching things up too much. Now I could squeeze some more out of this board if I really wanted to by rotating these and turning them around and positioning different and that kind of thing. But this is fine for demonstration purposes. And I'm already going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this one. And again, paste. And so we're getting plenty out of this little piece of scrap beach that I've got here. So there's 7 of them out of there. So there you go. And by the way, you might be doing these for gifts or something to give out, but you could real easily sell these things at a trade show or any kind of fair or anything. You could probably get, at least $7.50, $10 out of these. They could be kind of a lower cost item. So imagine taking this little piece of birch wood here and being able to turn that into $35, $40 at least, $70 if you're lucky. So what a great way to get rid of some of your extra pieces of hardwood that you've got laying around. So anyhow, so there we've got our pieces. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. Now we've got them positioned. It's good to save this, and I am going to call this opener demo is what I'll call that file for now. Okay, and I'm going to save that. All right, so now we've got our pieces positioned, and now I've been working in the 3D view just kind of by default, But you can be working in the 2D view for this as well. It really doesn't matter. It's just a matter of when you actually get ready to view your 3D view that you want to make sure that you're in your 3D view section here when you do your simulation. So I tend to kind of just work in 3D view, but it certainly doesn't matter. All right, so we've got all our pieces, so now let's start thinking about our order of operation. So I think the last thing that I would like to do is to cut these out. Now I'm going to put these on the CNC with the CA glue and blue tape method. So these are all going to be held down really good. I'm not going to need to put bridges in or anything like that. So that'll be my last operation, is cutting these out. And I think what I'm going to do is these small holes here on these 4 that I'm using for basically a hanger, or you could tie a piece of leather to it, or, you know, rope or whatever you have, you know, some type of a string, whatever you want to do there. But I think what I'm going to do, since those are so small, is I'm just going to pocket those out. If I cut those, you know, you could end up with that little piece floating around that could jump out and break a bit or something. It's just not worth it. And it literally only takes maybe a half a second. So I'm just going to pocket those out. So I think what we'll do first here is let's get our inner circle set here. So I'm going to select all of our inner circles. I'm just going to click on that first one. I'll hold down Shift, the second one, third, fourth, and then grab these 3 over here. And now we're going to start working on our toolpath. So I'm going to go to Toolpath, and I'm going to come down here to our area clearance, and we're going to make a little pocket here. So these are just a shave under, these are 1.75 millimeters thick. So again, to fit nice, I think what I'll do is make that hole 2 millimeters. So our start depth is going to be 0, our surface, and our finish depth in this case is going to be 2 millimeters. You see what I mean by working with these smaller projects where millimeters just really kind of comes in handy. Versus trying to work in Imperial. So it just makes life a little easier. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a tool here. And in this case, I'm going to use my 1/4 inch Jenny compression bit. Okay, so nice 1/4 inch compression bit. Take that out. And all of our defaults as far as speed and feed here are just fine. Which incidentally, that data file is, that tool data file is downloadable from Cadence Manufacturing if you got the Jenny bits. So you'll want to do that. So all of our default feeds and speeds in here are fine. Now the one thing I am going to change here is instead of a raster cutout, we're going to do an offset cutout. That way our bit goes in a circle to take that out, and since we're making a circle, that'll work out very nicely. This is so shallow that we really don't need to worry about any ramping moves, at least with the machine that I have, the Onefinity Foreman Pro. You just really don't need to worry about the ramping moves. We're only going to be taking out a very shallow little pocket. And then lastly, the one thing that we have left to do is to set up our material thickness. So I'm going to hit Setup, and again, using my calipers here, I'm going to check my material thickness, and that is 21.2. So I'm just going to call that 22 millimeters thick. Okay, there we go. And so now all of our toolpath is ready. All we have to do is name this, and I'm going to call this Insert Pocket, and we will hit Calculate. All right, and there you go. You can see that that bit is going to come in from the lower left side, and make some concentric circles here, and we are going to cut that shallow 2mm pocket. That's going to be the first thing that happens here. Okay? So now what we're going to do is I'm going to zoom in a little bit on these to make things a little easier to see and to grab. And so now what we're going to do is I'm going to click off of that. And now what we're going to do is select these funky kind of shapes here. And we're going to select all of those. I just hold Shift and click. And I'll zoom out. And then zoom back in over here. And again, hold Shift. Oops. And click that one. And that one. And that one. Okay, so now I've got all 7 of those pockets selected. And so now we've already got our pocket tool area here still up. And nothing is going to change. We are just going to change only the depth that we're going. So we selected these other insert pockets, and what that's going to be is just a deeper recessed area that will allow that cap to go into when you have your bottle opener. And we're going to use the same bit. Beauty of this project, super simple. We use one bit, no bit changes. And so what we're going to do, though, is right at the top here, cutting depth. Now, remember, if the first thing we do is cut out that shallow pocket, we're going to have that shallow pocket is 2mm under the surface. So our start depth will be 2mm. And I think if we allow 10mm for that area, that's plenty for a cap to fit in there easily. So 10 plus 2 is 12. So we're going to make our finish depth 12mm, and everything else defaults our same bit is in there. Offset is fine. These are so small we really don't need ramping moves again. Our thickness is already set, so I will call this cap pocket is what I'm going to call this particular piece here, and I'll hit calculate. And again, there is our toolpath for that. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this. And if I go into our toolpath button over here on the right side, you can see I've got insert pocket and cap pocket. So before I go any further, let me go ahead and simulate that. And so you can see what that looks like. So there we go. So if I zoom in, you can see we've got our outer circle 2mm deep that'll hold our metal insert, and then our interior pocket or cap pocket is going to start at 2mm and then go to a total depth of 12mm. And then once again, I'm going to hit the button here to center our project. And I can come back in, zoom in. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete this simulation so it's not in the way for us. And let's see, I'm going to come back into 2D view where we can still see everything here. And now what we'll do is we will take care of these small holes here. We're going to pocket those out. So those should be easy enough to, sorry, I don't mean to jump that around on you, but it scrolls really fast here. So I'm going to select the first vector hole here, hold down Shift, second one, this one, and this one. The round ones don't have that. And so now we're going to pocket that out. So I'm going to come back over here to our area clearance tool, and our start depth will be 0. That is the surface. Our finish depth, what did we say that was? 22mm deep. Our tool, again, I'm using the same bit, my 1/4" Jenny compression bit. Select that. Everything else stays the same. and we are going to choose offset again, round hole. We want to do offset so that that bit goes in a nice concentric circle there. And again, we really don't need ramping moves for something this small, very easy. And so now we will name that hanger pocket. And I will calculate that. And you can see that bit's going to come right in, go around and take that out. So that takes care of that. So we are almost there, kids. All right, so now what we have to do is just cut our actual pieces out. We've got all the insides cut the way we want them. Now we're just going to do our profile cut on the outside. So I'm going to select the first one here, hold down shift, second one, third, fourth, and then we'll get the outer pieces of these over here. Get that out of my way. And now that we have all of our exterior lines collected and selected, you can see they're purple there. What we are going to do is come to Tool Paths, and we are going to select Create Profile Toolpath down here under 2D Toolpaths. And so we want these to cut out, and so we want our bit to ride on the outside of these selected vectors. Our start depth will be 0. Our finish depth will be 22, so we go all the way through. Again, same bit, 1/4 inch Jenny compressions, what I'm using. You can use any bit that you like. My suggestion would be something, though, that is a down cut, but a compression bit, if you have it, is great. Which, by the way, I've got an affiliate link to save you a few dollars on your Jenny bits. So look for that in the description below. And hey, for those of you that shop with some of the affiliate links, you know, it's only a little, you know, a couple of cents here and there, but it really does help. It adds up and helps me to justify taking the time out to make these videos. So I really appreciate those of you that use those links. Incidentally, there's also going to be an affiliate link. I'll have it down at the bottom there for these inserts so that you can get from Amazon. They're very inexpensive, and you can get them in different colors and different quantities. I got a little 20-pack here. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly how much it was, but I think 20 of them were $7 or $8, something like that. Not very expensive at all. Okay, so let's get back to our model here. So I've got our vectors highlighted. Everything's ready here. Got our bits selected. And so now I'm just going to call this profile cut. Now for this one, it might not be bad to add a ramping in some of these longer ones here. So I'm just going to do a smooth ramp. Defaults are fine. And I will hit calculate. And you can see that outer ring appear around our vectors. And we are set. So if I come to Toolpaths now, and I go ahead and simulate this, there you go. You can see we're all the way through, and we've got all of our pieces made. And we've got our pocket for our insert, a little bit of an extra pocket here to allow room for that bottle opener to get around the cap, our holes here for hanging, and then lastly but not least, our profile cut. And remember, like I said, I didn't do any bridges or anything in this because I'm going to be using the tape and CA glue method to hold these down, so it's going to hold them in there just fine. So there we go. We are set. Again, hit save to save that whole file and make sure that we have that. And so now all we need to do is export our toolpaths. So what we're going to do now, and you can see over here on the right hand side, I've got everything in order. I've got our insert pocket, then I've got our cap pocket, our hanger pocket, which is the little hole on these four, and then finally our profile cut to cut them all out. That, I think, is probably the best order of operation for these. And so now we're just going to come down to toolpath operations, and we're going to hit that little save toolpaths button. And so the easiest thing to do is just come down here and let's move them all off to the other side. And then we're going to bring those in. Well, let's see. Actually, since we use the same bit on these, I take that back. Since we use the same bit, as long as we have these in order, we can bring them all in, because we're not changing the bit. So we're just going to do one toolpath after another, after another, after another, and it will all be automated. So I'm just going to double check and make sure I've got everything in order again. Insert pocket is our first one, cap pocket's the second one, the hanger pocket is the third one, and then finally the profile cut. So sounds good. All right, so I am now going to save these, and I am just going to call this opener cut file. I tend to like to use an underscore as opposed to a dash, and I'm going to call that 0.25 JC, Jenny compression bit, so I know what we're using. And let's see, I've already got an area for that here, so I'm just going to save that. And there we go. So we are set. I can close that. So all of our toolpaths are saved basically as one toolpath, because again, no bit changes. So our order operation is just going to start with the first, go to the second, go to the third, go to the fourth. And with the Onefinity, with the BuildBotics controller, it's going to do that just pretty much all at the same time. So hopefully I didn't jump around too much. This is my first time really doing an instructional type video like this, so it's a little bit of a challenge. But hopefully you were able to follow how to do that easily enough. And from here, I'll pick up again in a moment, and we'll transfer those toolpaths via Wi-Fi to the controller. So stick around, I'll be right back, and we'll do that. Okay guys, so we are back, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that file that we just created, that toolpath file, and we're going to send that via Wi-Fi directly to the Onefinity BuildBotics controller via Wi-Fi. So if you haven't done that before, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your controller is connected to your Wi-Fi, of course. And then all you need to do is go to your browser, whatever browser you're using, and put this number here in that appears on the screen. And yours may be very different. That's what's called an IP address. So when you look at your Onefinity screen and whatever number you see here, you should just be able to go to your browser and put that in. And sometimes it takes a minute or two. It's got to go across your network and find it, but it'll end up finding that, and it should bring up your screen. And otherwise, you can also, of course, just take that file, put it on a USB stick, and plug it into your controller if that's what you're used to. One last thing before I forget, and I'll probably try to mention this somewhere else in the video too as well, but make sure you check the link below the video in the description, and I'll have a link to these files down there that you can go to my website, and I'm sure I'll charge something very, very minimal for them, maybe like $3 or something like that. But anyhow, that link will be down there if you want it. And important to note, when I set that up, I'll probably set it up a little bit different. I made this whole video circled around the piece of wood that I had, but what I'll probably do is select a size that's a little more standard for at least the Carveco portion of it, so that way, if you are brand new to this and you're not comfortable messing with your tool paths at all, I would think, as long as it's a standard size that I make, and I'll detail it. I'll put a note in the download files, but with directions, but I'll make it a standard thickness, 3/4 of an inch thick, and then whatever a couple of those openers fit good on, maybe a 6x8 or 8x10 or whatever kind of works out. I'll detail that. I'll have a little bit of a direction file in there that you can read, a little PDF or something that details that. So if you're brand new, you should be able to use that Carveco file. But anyhow, I'll put them out there, and hopefully they're of use to you guys. So to transfer this down to our machine, I'm up in my office, so we're going to transfer this machine. All we're going to do is come over and select the open file folder, and then we're going to browse to where our toolpaths were saved, okay? And then we're just going to simply select that file and upload it, and it'll take a second. It'll go out and it'll connect to the machine, and then you'll see it streaming across the network to that, and there you go. It is now to the BuildBotix controller. The controller is processing that, and it will load up a 3D view over here if you're doing that via Wi-Fi. So it'll take a second to process that and to come back across. I'll enlarge that here so we can see it when it does come up. Okay, there we are. It finally appeared. So here we can see that file that I just made. We can see our toolpaths in there, and we can see exactly what's going to take place when we pull the trigger and hit play. So I will now stop the recording here for sending the file down, and I'll meet you at the machine, and we'll load this up and we'll cut it. So I'll see you at the machine. All right, so now we've got everything set. I already have my bit in here. I'm using the 1/4 inch Downtown Jenny in my case. Put my dust boot cover back on there, and I'm going to take and, as I said, I'm going to use the blue tape and CA glue method here. So we're going to put this on, and since I'm going to have some loose pieces roaming around, I'm going to go ahead and pretty much cover this whole piece here so that none of those pieces come loose and end up getting in the way anywhere. So there we go, is that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same here. And it really helps when you have the grid lines on your spoil board here, so that you can easily line things up and get things square. And that'll do that. When you're applying your glue, you want to do it to the table portion. So that way you don't have to worry about it dripping when you're handling your loose piece. I'll hit that with just a little bit of activator. And I'm just going to line that up on my spoil board. Press that down for a second, and we should be set. Okay, so next up, we will home our machine. So I'm going to take our probe and just put it right there on that lower left corner like we said. You know what, I'll take this dust boot off so you can see it. Put our magnet on there.
And then on our screen here, we're going to get ready to probe XYZ, but we need to bring this over and position that so we are close to that circle that appears on the probe. There we go. So we're going to probe XYZ, and let me make sure that you can see this okay here. There we go. I'll come in a little bit. And the first thing it wants you to do is to check the probe. There, I'll do that. I think you can see good. So you just touch the probe to the bit. Very next question it asks is your bit dimensions. It already comes up 1/4 inch, but if it were something different, we could choose that down here. 1/4 inch is fine. We have our block already placed, and we'll go ahead and hit next and let the machine do its thing and probe for X, Y, and Z. Okay. With that done, we can just hit done. The spindle moves to our starting point. I want to make sure we disconnect our probe, put it away. I'm going to put our joystick out of the way. In my case, I'm going to put my dust boot back on here. And I already have my VFD for the spindle on. It should automatically start. And from there, all I need to do is hit our play button there. And the machine will come up to speed. I want to move this screen out of my way. And from there, all I got to do is hit continue. So here I'm just going to add a little 1/8 of an inch round over, and I have to say you really should not do this with a handheld router like this unless you're really comfortable and used to using tools like this and have a non-slip pad like that. Makes it a lot better.
really should be done on a router table, but the one I have is not very great, and it's more of a pain to set up than anything else, so I find myself doing things like this quite often, and I'm pretty used to it and pretty comfortable with it. But if you have a router table, definitely do that little round over on the edges with the router table. And hey, hashtag not sponsored. Here I'm using some Total Boat wood honey, and it's very thin. It goes on very easy by hand, and I was trying to be careful not to get too much in the insert pocket area. But just squeeze a little bit on, a few drops, rub it in. Very easy to use, and the finish after it dries is really nice. And then, like I said, I tried not to get too much in that cap pocket so that I could put a little CA glue on there just to hold it in place nicely, and especially keep it still until you get the screws in there. Just helps out a little bit, and it secures it a little bit more. And after I got done with getting the caps on, I went back and put a little bit of that wood honey on a towel and got inside there real good, and just wipe it off and let it dry for a little bit. And it has a really nice finish, really nice food safe finish. So it's the first time I used it, but I see myself definitely using it more. So I'll have a link for that in the description down below as well. So if you're interested in that, Total Boat wood honey was nice to use. And just like that, with a few screws, the metal inserts are secured and our bottle openers are finished. So I could definitely see myself maybe gluing up a few panels, a few different types of wood, and who knows, maybe even doing a little bit of an epoxy pour or something. I don't know, and cut them out. I think they're a great project, very simple to do. Hopefully everybody enjoyed this. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and everybody that's subscribed from watching my first video. So if you like this type of content, please let me know maybe some projects that you'd like to see me tackle in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it.